guys, welcome to what we're going to call week 3 of fiction. I hope everything is going well so far. Like I said in my last video, our first few days got off to a bit of a rocky start because of technological issues, but I think that we're back on track. Um, Keep posting your questions in the questions and concerns forum. I think that my email is all back and up and running, so also I encourage you to email me if you have any questions or concerns as well. So this week we're going to do some more of the same in terms of reading and discussing those readings. And you'll also be writing a bit this week. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes about what you'll be reading and how you will be approaching your little writing assignments. So first of all, the reading assignment for this week, you'll be reading 4 short stories. The Guest, Cathedral, The Swimmer, and Misery. Um, you'll notice, though, that in the forum, I only have discussion forums for The Guest, Cathedral, and The Swimmer. So as we go through the summer, um, I might assign you to read 4 or 5 short stories in a week, but we may only discuss a few of them in the discussion forums. That doesn't mean, however, that you don't have to read the others. Throughout the semester, you'll have opportunities to choose which short stories you'd like to write about. Um, so if you look at the assignment and I tell you to read 4 short stories, but then only have 3 of them in the discussion forum, that 4th one might be the greatest thing that you've ever read in your entire life. But if you choose not to read it because you don't have to do it in the discussion forum, you're missing out. So I can't stress enough that you need to be reading every story that I assign, but in terms of the formal discussion forums, sometimes we won't always hit every single story. Um, but for purposes of your journal, for purposes of other writing assignments, you can choose from any reading that you've done, even if it wasn't the discussion forum. So anything from our text list. Um, so with that said, The Guest, Cathedral, and The Swimmer are all excellent short stories by writers you should know, and they all explore um, a male protagonist going through um, life changes, whether those are very individual, like in The Swimmer, and there are a lot of different ways to interpret what's going on in The Swimmer, but it's certainly about a man's journey. And we talk in fiction and in literature um, about the journey story and how important that is. And we'll delve into that a little bit more later this semester. But The Swimmer is certainly an example of um, a character going on a journey and discovering things about himself. Um, Cathedral as well, and Cathedral is a great example of minimalist writing. You'll notice that the writing feels a bit different. That Carver chooses very kind of sparse sentences and boiled down words. It's very much written how we would think and we would speak, and I think that that feels a little strange sometimes. But that's a very modern approach to writing literature, that minimalist style, where every word is chosen. There aren't a lot of flowery descriptions. It's very realistic. So this is also about, our narrator is kind of going through an experience. He's an example of an anti-hero who um, perhaps we don't even like him that much. A lot of kind of unheroic qualities. Um, the Swimmer is the same way. Just very kind of regular people who have some problems and unattractive qualities, but we watch their journey and we watch them kind of discover things about themselves. So be watching for that. Cathedral also has some really great examples of symbolism. Um, of course, the blindness, that's a very important one. When you see characters coming together to eat, where we see a very descriptive scene where they're coming together to eat and they change, they come together, that is symbolic of, in kind of Western culture, communion, as is when they smoke pot and they pass the joint around. That's also symbolic of coming together, joining together, and that transforms people. So start looking for symbolism as well. Um, and the guest too. This um, involves, a man observing a prisoner, making his own decisions, watching the prisoner's decisions, and all of those tensions and struggles that come along with looking at life through that lens, and misery as well. You have this male protagonist who's struggling and um, kind of dealing with personal struggles. So every good story needs to have tension, and sometimes that tension is very negative, sometimes it's positive tension. Some of the words that we use in literary analysis, whether it's conflict or tension, in composition, we use the term argument a lot, and those words often have kind of negative connotations, but we need tension, we need conflict for there to be a story. Um, so start thinking about where the conflict is, where a character changes. Just start practicing more and more, analyzing these stories through that critical lens. So in the discussion forum, you will respond to one question for each story that's posted there. Indicate which question you're answering. You'll post that original response by Sunday at midnight, and then you'll respond to at least one of your classmates by next Wednesday at noon. Start trying to quote the text. Some of you are doing a great job of that already. That will, if you get in the habit of doing that, it will make your writing, when you write your essays, even better. So your writing assignments this week, there are two small writing assignments. The first one, this is where we kind of wade into the water of literary analysis. I've given you a short story worksheet that it's so simple. It's kind of elementary, but I think it's nice to start um, practicing, being able to identify different characters and identify plot points. So that's a nice worksheet to just hang on to that Word document. But for our purposes, also fill one out. Just open the Word document, type in, choose your story, type in the characters, indicate on that kind of line where the four C's are occurring. And then kind of part two of that first assignment is to write a microanalysis. So analyze, in third person point of view, one of the characters from that story that you've identified on that worksheet, or kind of analyze the plot structure. So go a little bit more in depth. That should be about 2 pages. Again, this is pretty casual. This is not a big formal analysis. And then you'll also include a works cited page where you'll just include the story you've been working with and cite it as a selection in an anthology. So that's how we'll be citing all the stories this semester. Your second smaller writing assignment is a personal reflection, so you can use first person point of view, and you'll be considering literary and commercial fiction and both what you enjoy in your own life and the value of commercial and literary fiction. So revisit that PowerPoint, think about what you like to read and watch, and how those things might be categorized, and then the value of both literary and commercial fiction. So that's the part two. And both of those are due Wednesday, June 18th by noon. You'll upload Word documents in each of those links. Otherwise, keep going over those PowerPoints that I'm posting. Those will help expand your vocabulary for literary analysis and fill up that tool belt that I talked about last time, so you can kind of go forward and really start being able to critically analyze the literature that we're reading. So keep it up, keep reading, keep powering through, and let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Have a great week.